Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on. Walter, thank you so much for making the time, man. Super appreciated. I've never had my phone locked into a safe, so that's a I guess kudos to me.
Farzad, you should try it
I
out.
should.
Maybe we should all lock it in the safe at
I
3 a.m.
agree.
It's good talking to you, Farzad. I follow you quite a
Thanks,
bit.
brother. I really appreciate you. Yeah, you're somebody that I really admire. I love your work. I read your Steve Jobs book, and it was phenomenal. So I can't wait for the Elon Musk book to come out. The big thing from my end is so I had worked at Tesla for a little over 4 years, 4.5 years ish, and I was very fortunate to be in multiple leadership positions. And the thing that was super eye opening to me is that the way that company is run, and if I can sort of draw a parallel with SpaceX and Elon's other ventures, it seems like the companies run as a startup with 100,000 people. I don't know if that's a premeditated thing that Elon has done from a cultural perspective. So from as I was looking at it, I'm like, man, so many people have autonomy. So many people are empowered to make decisions. And if I think about other companies that I've worked at, great companies, and all the other people that I talk to, it seems like the bigger a company gets, the less you're able to do. But like at Tesla, I felt like everybody was able to do so much. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how that culture is set? Is that a premeditated move from Elon's perspective? Any insight there would be awesome to hear.
That's true of Tesla. It's also true of SpaceX, which is he loves risk and he wants everybody to take risk, which is why he's being able to get things into orbit and to move us into the era of electric vehicles. He also believes very strongly in connecting designers and engineers with the manufacturing. It's a big difference from Steve Jobs. Steve used to love to walk around Johnny Ive's design studio and sort of feel the curve and chamfers of the iPhone. But once they got it totally designed, they just sent it off to China to be manufactured, and Jobs never visited the factories in China. But the thing that impressed me the most about Musk is he is always walking the factory line. There's so much in the book just about the feedback you get when you walk the line of the factory. And that gives you an iterative process where the design is geared to being manufactured. And that's what I think gives you a startup feel for it, is that you can be very nimble and flexible.
Got it. If I could do just maybe one quick follow up, if it's okay. Do you see him delegating a lot as well? Is that something that he's very good at? He's just how willing is he to delegate a lot of those sort of minutia things, or is it something that he wants to take on? Maybe a little light there would be helpful.
He's hyper focused on the things he's interested in. If he's walking the line at Boca Chica, he'll be looking at how the Raptor engines are installed and talk for an hour or 2 hours with the team about heat shields and shrouds and what to do. But the other things that he's not hyper focused on at that point, he trusts and even demands that his people take risks and do things. So he's able to focus serially on so many different things each day, but still on the stuff he's not focused on. Gwen Shotwell, Mark Jancosa, others at SpaceX can do it. Likewise, Drew Baglino, Franz, others at Tesla are allowed to do their own thing. And for the moment, he's focused even on factory design, like for the next generation vehicle, how they're going to build the assembly lines, both in Austin and Mexico, and exactly what's going to happen on each station of the assembly line. But for other things that he's not particularly focused on, people like Drew and people like Lars and people like Franz are fully empowered and even empowered to push back on him at times.
Yeah, so hear you talk, Walter, and listen to your previous space as well. I mean, you're giving really good insight into how Elon Musk approaches problem solving, leadership, how to identify the right problems. And one thing I always think about is, SpaceX, Twitter, Tesla, all have really huge missions that are tied to them, which you've talked about this, how these are very crucial in getting the workforce motivated and inspired to work as hard as possible. But I'm also curious, with the amount of time you've spent with them and the research you've done in other game-changing leaders throughout history, do you think the Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, whatever you want to call it, the Musk Corp umbrella of success, is that a uniquely Elon Musk thing that is a result of his life experience and what he's experienced and his brain and how he approaches companies? Or do you think this is something that's replicable if somebody reads your book once it comes out, so that there's a blueprint on how to approach a company building like an Elon Musk? I'd love to hear your thoughts around that.
Well, I'd love you to buy the book, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not. Then you can reject it if you want, because I'm going to be honest. Biographies are not how-to manuals. I don't write, and I don't read the 7 secrets to being a good manager or the 12 effective rules for being a leader. I think biographies are about real people. And just as it was with Steve Jobs, you don't want to just imitate somebody, but you want to learn the lesson. So in the book, there's the manufacturing lessons, the famous algorithm and how he came up with that, of question every requirement, something Boeing still hasn't figured out yet. Even there's a section on the lessons he learned from playing Polytopia, which he was as almost addicted to as he was to Twitter. So there are a lot of management techniques and secrets in the book, but I don't sort of say, here's how you can be like Elon, because with all due respect, you're not going to be, nor am I.
Right. And so I guess from a personal, like, if I can get your personal opinion, do you think the successes of the companies are directly tied to who he is as a person, or do you think there could be a different person that can lead a SpaceX, lead a Tesla? I'd curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, you can say that it isn't due to him that, say, Tesla did so well. But Tesla became the most valuable car company on the earth and transformed the way we do transportation. And then you can say that, well, maybe SpaceX. But SpaceX, even as it was about to go bankrupt in 2008, is now the only entity getting American astronauts into orbit in the space station. Even NASA can't do it, even Boeing. And then you go to Neuralink, and then you go to Optimus the robot, and you go all the way down the list. And it can't just be happenstance that these companies are successful. It's due to Elon Musk. And even great driven leaders like Jeff Bezos have not been able to get people into orbit. So the theme of the book is, well, you think maybe he was just lucky, or maybe it wasn't because of him. But over and over again, when the same formula works in so many different industries, and, we'll see if he can make Twitter work as well, then that's when I start saying, here is the formulas he uses for his success.
That's great. Thank you, Walter.
Hey, Walter, I want to be respectful of your time real quick. So I know we're at an hour. Do you have some more time to spend with us? We obviously have a lot of...
Sure. I mean, it's a long book and there are a lot of questions. Perfect. And I want to be like Elon. Elon never, ever cuts off a meeting. And I'll be on 4 or 5 meetings a day with him sometimes. And I'm thinking, man, this has gone on 90 minutes. It's almost 2 hours, and he's still asking questions. So I think if you're going to be like Elon, you got to be transparent, but you also have to be willing to put in the time. So thanks. And I'll do one more since I think you said...
yeah, Farzad.
Awesome.
Farzad, he's one of the hosts here, so we got to accommodate.
Walter, you're the best. You're the man. Thank you so much. It was actually kind of a piggyback on what Omar brought up. So one of the things that I, my wife and I talk about this often. It's from the sounds of it, Elon is somebody who's had you just described it. He had somewhat of a tough childhood with bullying and maybe a relationship with his father. And I was wondering, out of all the people that you studied and sort of piggybacking on Omar, how much is adversity, is that a shared trait between all those great people that you've covered? Is that early on adversity a huge shaper into being able to dissect things as an adult and being able to be successful and having a high tolerance for pain? Did you observe that as a commonality between all these folks?
Yes. Every person I've written about, almost, with the exception of Jennifer Doudna, has felt like an outsider, a bit of a misfit in childhood. and felt a real sense of pain and adversity, whether it's Leonardo da Vinci growing up in the small village of Vinci and running away to Florence, where he's born out of wedlock, he's left-handed, he's gay, he's distracted, and that sense of being an outsider, which Einstein, you talk about rough childhoods, and Kissinger, being Jewish in Germany in the early 1900s, and Kissinger being beaten up as a child, having to cross the street when non-Jewish kids were walking by him in Firth, Germany. For Elon, it was particularly exaggerated because the brutality of his childhood was exacerbated by the psychological brutality of his father. And in some ways, you'll see that as the theme of the book. Elon Musk is still very much with us. I talked to him many, many times. But that, Elon doesn't speak to his father now, but that adversity that comes from a father who's a bit of a fantasist and very psychologically tough on him also helped him. One of the things that biographers find is a commonality among very strong, successful men is that it's often about dad. It's often, as Barack Obama says in the beginning of his memoirs, I think every successful man is either trying to live up to his father or live down the sins of his father. And in Elon's case, it's both. In Einstein's case, it was both. In Leonardo's case, it was both. And Ben Franklin, a runaway from Philadelphia, who had been apprenticed by his father to his own brother. All of these things have a certain adversity. I grew up in New Orleans, the greatest town in the world where you can grow up. My parents, greatest, smartest people I've ever met. It means that I kind of had a happy childhood. It means I'll never be Elon Musk, but at least I'll be able to write about an Elon Musk.
Well, I'm glad we have you writing books.
Yeah, and Jobs was adopted as well.
What's that? Oh, Steve Jobs had two fathers to live up to. His biological father, if you've read the book, when he finally discovers who that is, and of course, his father who adopted him. But with Elon, you're going to be surprised at the adversity he faced as a child, what his friends, wives, everybody heard him late at night channeling some of the things that happened to him as a child and how that's affected him even to today. Thank you all.